Okay, good evening everyone. Welcome to our evening Dhamma session. Topic of tonight's talk is failure. It's a word we're all afraid of, right? Afraid of being a failure. You ever felt like a failure in general? We place our hopes and our dreams on success, as do other people. Place their hopes and dreams on our success, our parents. Sometimes some people have intense pressure put on them by their parents to succeed. And if they don't, they're made to feel like a failure. Sometimes society puts pressures on us to succeed, our neighbors, our friends. So maybe everyone else is succeeding and boasting or proud of their achievements, and we feel like a failure because we've achieved nothing. It's a mental illness of sorts, this need to succeed and this attachment to failure or feeling like a failure. Because of course in Buddhism there's not really such a thing as failure. Or maybe more, we're always failing. We fail until we succeed. It's not a question of whether you're succeeding or failing. We're failing. We're failing to see the truth. And we'll just keep failing and failing and failing from life to life, lifetime after lifetime after lifetime, until finally we see the truth. That's all there is to it. So when we bring these attitudes into meditation, they cause us great stress, and the meditators often feel like they're a failure and are very worried about failing the course, right? You come and take a course here, well, you think of it like any other course, and it's like a pass or fail thing. But reality is not like that. First of all, we have eternity. We're not going to, it's not like you wasted your life and that's it. But more importantly, it's not really so much about what you accomplish and what you become. It's just about seeing the truth. So we're really looking at what it is that keeps us from seeing the truth. What is it that causes us to fail to see what's really right in front of us? And so it's a good opportunity for us to talk about some of the things that get in the way of our practice, right? I mean, what I want to impress upon you is that no one's going to fail the Course. In fact, it's a great success even just to stay here and to do terribly at the Course, in a sense, because you're learning about how incompetent you are. We're learning about how incompetent we are, how unable we are to see the truth. A meditator might think they finish the Course and be discouraged that they maybe didn't get the results they were hoping for, or maybe they leave early and are discouraged by the fact that they couldn't finish the Course, and that's wrong thinking. Because every moment that you're mindful and every insight you gain through being mindful is a success. It's one step closer to the goal. And so rather than talking about what makes you fail the Course, because that doesn't happen, or what you need to succeed, and we talk about the sorts of things that you're going to have to overcome, if it's in this course or next course, or if you come back later. It's only a matter of time and a matter of ability. You have to build up the skills of being mindful and energetic and concentrated and so on. But what gets in the way? Well, the Buddha talked about 8 things that get in the way of us seeing clearly. And these are actually quite practical. I mean, this isn't such a deep teaching, although it gets quite deep near the end. I think this is a really good list. You'll see, because it goes from the practical to the deep, sublime teachings. So the first one, these are 8 things that lead us to fail, lead us to continue to fail, and even to lose our way. And so the first one is kamma aramata. Aramata means joy, or getting caught up in or getting intoxicated by, enjoyment of. Kamma is work, so getting obsessed with or caught up in work. So the Buddha was actually thinking of, for monks here, if monks go around working all the time. There's this story of this monk in the Dhammapada, I think, who in the morning he would sweep, in the afternoon he would sweep, and in the evening he would sweep. And the monks looked at him and said, "Wow, there's a real dedicated monk, always sweeping. In the morning you see him sweeping, in the afternoon you see him sweeping. And today you see these monks." Right? So monks who would sweep, 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 work, work, work. So they went to the Buddha, or the Buddha came to them and said, what are you talking about? "Oh, I'm talking about that monk." And the Buddha said, "Look, if a person sweeps, they're called a janitor." So it's maybe not such an interesting story, but from a monastic point of view, it's kind of funny, because there is a lot of praise given to monks who sweep. It's a monk who keeps the monastery clean, and it's a monk who is energetic, and so on and so on. Well, the Buddha didn't have such high praise for janitors. Here in the meditation center, we've asked everyone to spend a little time doing something every day. Please keep that up. But if it's already clean, you don't have to go around cleaning it, You clean what needs to be clean, but some people get caught up. But I mean, the point is, especially during a meditation course, it's possible for you to try to find any excuse not to meditate, right? You know how this goes. The mind is averse to something, and then it finds ways to avoid it. And it becomes an obsession, finding ways to avoid the problem, until finally you catch yourself and are mindful and break through. And of course, for those of you living in the world, it's important to understand working 80 hours a day, 80 hours a week is probably not going to be supportive of meditation practice or seeing things clearly. Don't get caught up in work. Take time. Number 2, basaramata, getting caught up or intoxicated, delighting in speech. Some people like to talk a lot. Monks. Some monks would just sit around and talk and chat and gossip. Even talking about the Dhamma, You've been to these Dhamma groups where everyone's just talking about the Dhamma. The conferences are the most fun. There's a conference this month, and, well, we'll see, but I've been to some Buddhist conferences in my time, and I mean, not to be overly critical, and it's not good to talk bad about things and people, but I will say that it's a lot of talk sometimes. We're very good at talking about Buddhism sometimes. It's much easier to talk about it than to practice. I mean, in the meditation center, of course, it means don't sit around chatting with each other. I've always said the ideal meditator doesn't know the names of the other meditators. And sometimes I forget the meditators' names, but I'm supposed to know them. And for all of the meditators. I mean, sometimes a meditator will come to me and they know not only their name, but where they're from. The other meditators, they know where the other meditators are from, and a fair chunk of their life story. And you got to wonder how that is when you're not supposed to be talking with each other. So during the course, it's it's important because chatting, it's hard to be mindful. Your mind gets caught up in other things. If you work a lot, you get tired. If you talk a lot, you get distracted. Number 3, nidaramata, delighting in sleep. So the meditators are learning this as we tell them not to sleep more than 6 hours or 4 hours. Try not to sleep too much. And you realize how attached we are to sleep. And this attachment to sleep gets in the way of our practice. I was talking about that this morning, how remarking on how more focused you are when you sleep less. It's not easy. It's much more comfortable to sleep a lot. But during the time when you're asleep, you're certainly not mindful. And just the attachment to it, the pleasure, because it resets the timer, it resets the state. Having to deal with all these challenging states, and then suddenly you relax and you free yourself from the need to actually deal with them. So it prevents you from really and truly letting go. Number 4, Sanganika Ramata, which means company. It's related to speech, but this is just delighting in company. So here's one, people talking about meditating in groups and how much more powerful it is to meditate in groups. I mean, really what they mean is it's much easier because you're more concerned about the people around you, and you have a consciousness of them, which isn't necessarily bad. It's just, it becomes a crutch. And I mean, that's a mild example. Much worse, of course, is when meditators sit around and talk. Or in the world, when you spend all your time socializing. Nowadays, we do it all on the internet. How many hours a day we spend on Facebook, and I'm not really all that keen on Facebook, but it becomes an addiction. This social networking. It gets in the way of our practice. I remember when I tell this story often about this, I was at this meditation center. I was asked to teach for a short time. And when I got there, all the foreign meditators would do their meditation. But in between meditation, they had a schedule where they'd all join together and sit around chatting and laughing and joking. It was like a party or something. And it was because they were told they were supposed to do this many hours a day, but they weren't told anything else. And so they had to do 10 hours of practice a day or something. And that was all that was of concern. So when they came to me, I said to them, okay, today I want you to practice 18 hours a day. Because you sleep 6 hours, that's fine. But the other 18 hours, they're mine. You're mine. So I said, when you wake up, I want you to say, lying. When you want to sit up, wanting to sit, wanting to sit, raising. And throughout the day, be mindful of all your activities. And I said, I don't care how much formal meditation you do, but to be mindful throughout the day when you walking. And like within a day, this sitting around chatting was over. Right? This isn't some kind of work that you do and then you get off work and you can go back to your life. This is our life. This is about living mindfully. It has nothing to do with how many hours a day you do. How many hours a day you're walking or sitting. You can walk and sit for hours and get nothing out of it. You can become enlightened in 3 steps if you're really mindful. So anyway, certainly benefited, I think, from giving up that social life. Number 5, Indriyesu agutadvarata, not guarding your senses. So we fail to see the truth because we're caught up in experience. Experience is here, but instead of experiencing it, we react to it. You see something and you get caught up in liking or disliking it. You hear something and same thing, maybe it's a good sound, bad sound. My sound, your sound, this sound, that sound, right sound, wrong sound. Smell, taste, feeling, too hot, too cold, too hard, too soft. And it can become an obsession, right? Even thinking is the 6th one, right? Thinking, you can become obsessed with thoughts, right? The time sitting around for hours thinking about things. And it gets in your way. These are not things that we have to be afraid of that are going to cause us to fail. These are things that keep us failing every moment. I mean, these are the things that we have to remove. If not now, then later. To learn to guard the senses. And by guard doesn't mean to hide them away, but it means to be mindful at the senses. And that's what we're doing here, right? But remind ourselves, that's the object of meditation, is the senses. Whenever the senses arise, seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, feeling, thinking, be mindful of it. 6, Bojane Amatanyutta, not knowing moderation in food, and by extension anything else we take in. Could be information, things we read, things we watch, things we listen to, but especially food. I mean, what else is it that we do every day, that we need every day? Food. Water is not such a big deal. It's hard to get attached to drinking water, though some people do. It's very easy to get attached to food. Eating too much, eating too little. We've had meditators who wanted to just drink juice or eat fruit. Doesn't work out so well. You need to eat enough. But it's quite common to eat a lot, and it's a good lesson for those living in the world. When you realize how obsessed we are with food, not just 3 meals a day. I mean, here at the meditation center we have 1-2 meals a day. But out in the world it's sometimes not just 3, it's 3 plus snacks. How many times do you snack during the day? Some people it's a lot of snacking. Maybe not even to get full, but just to enjoy the taste. The meditators here realize this, you have the cravings yet for this food or that food. If I start talking about delicious foods and it makes your mouth water, I think the food here is okay, but we don't eat enough to satiate our obsessions, our desires. And as a result, we're able to learn to let go of them. If you always get what you want, you just spoil your mind. You corrupt your mind. Because it'll never be enough. It'll just be more and more addicted. Number 7 is Sangsagaramata. Sangsagaramata. Sangsaga is like contact or association. And I'm not quite sure what it means, but it means delighting in experiences, I think. That's what I would put it as. Wanting to experience certain things. So for meditators, this can be wishing to experience blissful states. Sometimes you'll see bright colors or images, wanting to see them. Some people, maybe it's wanting magical powers, flying through the air, levitating, seeing things with your eyes closed. Leaving your body, this kind of thing. Get attached to experiences. In an ordinary sense, it's getting attached to being things or being places, going here, going there. And through deep meditation, what our advanced meditators here, who have been doing this for many days now, starting to realize is that experience is diverse, but in the end it's still just experience. There really isn't anywhere you can go, up on a mountain, under the sea, that will free you from suffering. That will give you an experience that is satisfying, controllable, predictable, stable, worth clinging to, basically. Nothing is worth clinging to. That's what you start to see. And so this idea of, hey, maybe I'll go to Niagara Falls, those of you who are from far away, that you've been thinking, oh boy, Niagara Falls, it's only about 45 minutes away from here. Yeah, that's Sangsagaramata. Desire for experiences. It's difficult. Being this close to Niagara Falls must be a big one. Number 8, papancha ramata. Papancha, delighting in papancha, delighting in diversification. Or, yeah, it's not a really good translation for papancha. Papancha means making more out of something than it is. This word is incredibly important. I mean, this is a word that we talk about in English. We don't usually name the word. Making more out of things than they actually are is really the whole of the problem. Without papancha, there is no suffering. There's no problem. Right? Because problem is papancha. Things aren't problems. This snake in front of you is not a problem. But when you see it as a problem, and you get afraid of the snake or the spider or the pain in your body, right? Pain is just pain until we decide, or until we think of it as a problem, as more than that. So delighting in this, or not delighting in it, but getting obsessed with it, everything. Food, we don't just eat, we enjoy. Right? We use the word enjoy as I enjoyed my food. Everything we see and hear and smell and taste and feel and think, all of our experiences, we extrapolate. We make more of them than they actually are. In the world, we delight in it. We delight in daydreaming. We delight in ambition, right? You have some money, you want to make more out of it, make more money. Maybe you invest it. Maybe you stay up late at night thinking of ways to make more money, or just ways to survive. No, that's different. See, ways to survive is actually proper, right? But that's the point, is that surviving is not making more out of things than they are. It's seeing things as they are. Yes, I need money or whatever to survive. But when you start to think, hey, how could I make more money, and so on and so on. This, I think you could call in a worldly sense, papancha. But from the point of view of the practice, it means everything. Making more out of things than they are. You're cold, but you don't like the cold, and it's bad, and it's a problem. Well, there you go. Making more out of it than it actually is. You hear a noise and it frightens you. Why does it frighten you? Because you think it's a ghost, or you think it's a monster, or a wild animal. This is papancha. You hear a sound and you think it's beautiful and lovely, and you want to go and find and capture whatever bird is making that noise. This is papancha, making more out of it than it is. And you know, all you've seen through the course, all the ways that this happens. The mind makes more out of things than they actually are. And that's the problem. Once you solve that and start seeing things just as they are, which is, of course, what the practice is for. When you say to yourself, pain, pain, you're changing the way you look at the pain to see that surprisingly it's just pain. It's nothing more, nothing less. When you do that, then you stop failing. Then you start succeeding. But it's not something anyone should ever feel desperate about, like I'm failing, like I'm a failure. We usually say that because of our experiences, right? I'm experiencing a certain thing in my practice, and that's a sign of failure. And there you go, that's papancha. Making more of things than they actually are. This sense of failure, that's the problem. Our experiences are not the problem. Once we can see them for what they are, then we succeed, because then we stop clinging. There's nothing to cling to if seeing is just seeing, and so on. And when you get there, watch out. That is the highest. That is where the mind becomes free. And one realizes true peace, true happiness, that which is of true benefit and value. So there you go. There's some talk about failure, how we should all feel encouraged. Every moment that we're meditating, every moment that we're mindful, in that moment we're not failing to see the truth. In that moment we are succeeding. So there's the Dhamma for tonight. Thank you all for tuning in, coming out. Have a good night.